Welcome to our June episode. We have a great show planned as we interview several residents about their technology use and skill level with these tools. From none to tons, we'll cover it all. So the challenges of the pandemic accelerated tech adoption among older adults, and according to AARP, people aged 50 and older spent about $912 on technology last year, up from $394 in 2019. But barriers remain as older Americans go beyond the smartphone. There is a lack of training programs and a concern that products aren't always designed for an aging population. Additionally, accessibility can be of great concern. With that in mind, our first guest will be David Gordon, who is blind. Well, welcome David to our show. This is David Gordon. He is a resident of Laguna Woods, and I'm so glad that you could join me today, David.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
No problem. And you can't see it, but Dewey, his seeing eye dog, is on the floor, and he's very well behaved. So what's your experience over your life with technology?
Well, I've always, it depends on how you define technology, I guess, but I've always loved electronics and anything that I could make work. I had 2 electric trains, as a kid. I had a real curiosity about electricity when I was 6 years old, and I took a coat hanger, they were wire back then, and unwrapped it and stuck one in each hole of it. I couldn't figure out how the electricity got through the wall to my radio. So I thought I'd see if I could find out, and I did. I burned my hands pretty badly.
Oh my, that's terrible. So over the years of when you went to school, at that time, did they have any special tools for you to be able to read, or were there Braille tools, technology, or no, it was just like an actual paper, or I've seen the Braille readers.
Yeah, we had Braille paper. Now, Braille is a good thing. I mean, it's all we had then. It's cumbersome and expensive to produce. For example, the Braille Bible is probably 4 or 5 feet long in entirety to get all the books together. So it isn't practical. You almost, if you're going to go to church, you find out from your pastor what he's going to talk about and bring that book.
Okay.
That's all you could do. Now, of course, you can get it on a thumb drive,
Right. So on your computer right now, and this is what I'm very interested in is, so are you doing mostly voice? So the text is being read to you, or are there actual things built into the computer that read the Braille?
Okay, the computer, I have what's called a screen reader, and it talks to me.
Okay.
And what it has to do, though, it's not just a matter of reading the screen, because if you go to a website, you don't want to read the whole page. You're looking for something. And so I have the ability to look for headings, paragraphs, lines, specific things. Once I get familiar with the web page, then it's real easy and quick for me to move around and find what I want.
Okay, so so as you pull up a web page, then you speak and say, now find this paragraph, or?
No, I type.
You type it in, okay. Okay, great. Well, that's very interesting. So what other I think you have a smartphone there.
Yes, I do.
What other tools do you use in your world?
Other tools.
Like Alexa, you have a smart TV, I'm assuming?
I've got Alexa, we've got a smart TV, I've got, my wife has, she can see though, but she has a couple iPads and an iPhone. And I maintain her PCs for her as well as mine.
Okay, and how did you learn to do that?
When I retired, I didn't even know how to make a folder in Windows. And I decided if I was going to be retired, I had to learn it. So I'm all self-taught, and I repair computers. I even do some hardware repairs.
Well, that's amazing, because as much technology as I know, I'm not really good on the repair end of things. I would probably need your help for sure.
I'd be happy to try.
Well, that's really cool to know that you're able, but I know you have I don't want to say hobby, but I know you have a very interesting side gig, so to speak. And would you like to tell me a little bit about that?
You're talking about the radio station?
I am.
It is a hobby. There are probably 300,000 or 400,000 internet radio stations, and many of them have 2, 3, 4 listeners. and a few more. Our group, I work with this group from Michigan, which is where I'm from, and it's called the Michigan Blind Athletic Association.
Oh my, I'm from Michigan too.
Are you really?
Mm-hmm.
Where at?
From the Detroit suburbs.
Okay, I'm from Kalamazoo.
Okay, my son and grandkids live in Portage.
Oh yeah.
Right
yeah.
now.
Small world. Yeah. So they were using a bandwidth to broadcast their annual convention, and I said to Mike, I said, well, why don't we set up a radio station and use it 365 days out of the year? And they went for it, and so that's what we're doing. And basically, it supports our group. Other people can listen, anybody can listen, but most people aren't even going to hear about it unless they're associated with us.
How does internet radio work? Are you just like on a website broadcasting, or is there anything special?
Not really. It actually goes around the world, except for where it might be geo-blocked. And, but people aren't necessarily going to know that we exist to tune us in, because it's not like there's a dial you can tune across. You know, you have to know to go to the webpage.
So I'm assuming that the association puts on, here's our channel. Do they have podcast, or does it live broadcast?
We have some automation. We have some live programs. Right now, they're pretty much all music programs, all varieties. I used to do a talk show, and I'd like to do another one. I'd also like to find some other broadcasters. So
well, that's wonderful. That is, it's just when you told me about this in when you first applied to be on the show, I was very fascinated by all of that, and I was also just so the listeners and viewers understand, a geo-block is a geographic location. So there might be places in the world where you can't get certain channels. Foreign countries, for example, block a lot of any media.
Sure.
So, well, so you're mostly doing your own home computer repair. Do you do it for anybody else?
Yeah, I do. I have 2 different programs that allow me to connect to other computers. And I do work on people's computers, usually people I know. I've never charged a dime because I just enjoy getting it right, you know.
Right. Well, the PC Club's always looking for helpers.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yeah, they're just down the hall here. But yes, they have the full workshop down there, and they have a lot of people come in, and they do have some vetted support people. They're not free though, but so you could charge for your services. But
yeah.
There are a lot of people who are very they're not as tech savvy, and they need help, and sometimes it's really basic help, and I've done as best that I can to try and help people via the show, but certainly training is a big part of technology use, as specifically training for older adults. That's one of the things that kind of led me to do this show today, was because I felt like most older adults all of a sudden they were needing all this technology, particularly during the pandemic, and then they didn't really know how to use the tools.
Sure.
So that's what started all of this.
Well, I know people who are just afraid of the computer, and smarter than me, but just afraid they're going to mess something up. And I went through several years where I was formatting my computer at least once a year because I messed things up. But that's how I learned.
That's right. That's right. I call myself a clicker.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to click.
Yeah.
And it might end up badly, but so far it hasn't, so that's good. But I do feel that you're exactly right about that. Most people it's more fear than anything.
Sure.
And now it's pretty hard to mess things up.
It is. They're pretty well protected now. Microsoft and Apple both are very protected environments.
Yes, there was a big security update yesterday on the iOS side of things, but people would be surprised. A lot of people, we talk about firewalls and things like that. Most of the computers now come with very good built-in technology for those firewalls, and but that will put people like Norton and that out of business if I say that. So, well, thank you so much for coming.
Can I just add a couple of things?
Absolutely.
What I really appreciate about technology is that it changed my life. For example, we talked about Braille earlier. because there were things in Braille I could read, but there weren't a lot of things. Now, everything's available to us because we have the internet, we have audio books, so much more available. The only thing I can't read that I'd really like to read right now is the Globe. They used to be online, but they, for some reason, have discontinued that. But that changed my life and a lot of people's lives. And it also made it possible for me to get the job that I had. I worked in purchasing.
Okay.
I couldn't have done that if I had to rely on paper and things that I couldn't read, couldn't refer to.
Well, that's amazing, and you're right about that. Your work, what you do for work, and being able to have the tools to be able to do your job effectively, it's a wonderful thing that it's available to you. So the digital version of the Globe, you're not able to read it?
I wasn't aware there was one.
Yes, there is.
Really?
I read it digitally every Thursday. I don't get the hard one.
You have to tell me where to find it.
I will show you. I will definitely tell you about it and tell you how to get it. So yes, please do, so that you don't miss out on the Globe.
No, but it's not just me. I mean, the technology has changed the lives of millions of blind people around the world because of reading, and and available material now.
That's
deal.
wonderful. And that's one of the things about technology that I love, changing the lives for the better of a lot of people in a lot of situations. I mean, Stephen Hawking, look at his situation.
Yeah, I saw the movie.
Yeah, I mean, that without his ability to have the tools that he had, no one would have known what a brilliant mind he had.
Right, that's for sure.
So, well, thank you for sharing all of this with us, and I so appreciate you coming and getting to meet Dewey, who is fast asleep here on the floor. Yeah. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, Laguna Woods Village residents! Did you miss a broadcast of your favorite village television show? Don't worry, the solution to your problem is just a click away. The Village Television YouTube channel has got you covered. From board meetings to fitness classes, to shows like This Day, Let's Talk Tech, or Tales from the Woods. You can watch every broadcast anytime on YouTube. Catch up on all the latest and greatest shows and events happening in Laguna Woods Village on our YouTube channel, Village Television.
Well, hello everyone, and we have with us today another resident. This is Deborah Klee, and I'm so happy that she could join me today. Thank you.
Glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Well, I'm just going to ask you a few questions about technology and how you feel about it. And so what's your experience so far with technology?
I would say because I was a teacher and a counselor, and I clearly remember the marketing ploy of sending a small Apple computer to all the schools, and it was so innovative. Absolutely had no idea that it would be the tool of education now. So I think it fascinated me, so I was always interested in it. And then I remember I had the opportunity to take some students to Australia on an exchange. And everyone in Australia was texting. And what are you doing? And texting, I don't understand. What is that about? And I said, oh yeah, that's what everybody does. Everybody texts. And that's dumb. These Australians are weird. I have no idea why anybody would do that. And then obviously now that's a major means of communication.
Yes, to your point, I wasn't when technology first started, I wasn't in education, but I remember actually getting a BlackBerry and how innovative it was back in the day with and the little keyboard.
Yes, people are still in mourning and doing grief work for their BlackBerries.
For their BlackBerries, I know. So obviously you feel pretty comfortable using it then.
Yes.
Do you have an iPad, a laptop, a phone? What do you use on your regular day-to-day?
In education, as we started with Apple, price-wise, I think, it moved, they moved into the PC world, so I had to learn with that. But I think that Apple experience, and for me it's very intuitive, And I also find if my phone and my computer speak the same language, and then I also have an iPad.
Okay.
And I have a watch, so there we go, because I'm always I'm always late. So I have Apple products across the board. The PC world and the Apple world, they don't like each other. They do not play well together. And sometimes there's not even a reason why they can't get along. But
well, I'm gonna differ a little bit because they're getting along better than they ever used to. There are some tools that you can put on a Mac now that kind of run it like a PC. And I actually about 15 years ago, I had a PC that had a Mac side and a PC side. So they lived together in one unit.
My husband has the PC side on the Mac computer. So.
Yes, so there you go. But I do agree. I have both. My laptop computer use is almost, mostly a PC side of the world, but I have my iPad, my iPhone, my iWatch, and that's just, my day-to-day too as well. And I don't know what I would do without my iPad. My husband said he never sees me without my iPad.
I love my iPad too. It's so convenient. I love it. I really love it.
So do you think technology has made life more easier or more difficult?
Do you know what? I think it's a love-hate situation. I think there's two sides of it. The side that I think concerns me, I was at a conference where there was someone from Apple, and he made the comment, which stuck with me, that the social divide is no longer about who has money or productivity or resources. It's about who has internet and the infrastructure to support it.
Right.
So with that, that's empowering. However, who is it empowering? And I think all of the data mining that people are doing as we use our technology. I mean, I don't get a toothbrush where somebody doesn't ask me to, please share your input is important to us.
Right.
Really? On my toothbrush. And then I think the data mining, in my opinion, drives the media that we see, that we rely on for news, et cetera, because people click on things that they find sometimes gruesome, sometimes controversial, whatever. So that data mining of everything that we're putting into our computer is driving, I think, too much of society politically too. And then you have that dark side,
the dark web.
Yeah. It's awful. And then it isn't when you're going to get hacked. If you're going to get hacked, it's when you're, getting. And you can put all the stuff that you can and be aware and still,
Really, the best tool against hacking is the person, the human.
That's a good point, Deb.
I'm an adjunct professor at 2 universities, and so I'm constantly doing, and in one of the universities I work, I teach in the technology department.
Great.
So what we found, though, is really the best firewall is you, because it's the people clicking or being phished, and things are looking very real. And really what you want to make sure of is that you just think before you click. And that's something I say at the end of the show too, is because that is really where we're headed. But you can sit in your living room and have a conversation, and the next thing you know, on your social media, you're getting an ad.
Right.
It's an all or nothing type situation, but if you have any technology, you are being tracked in some way, and you either have to accept it for what it is and protect yourself, or you have to just accept, be careful. But yes, a lot of times people are saying they're getting hacked on Facebook. What they're actually getting is cloned. And what that means is they're just someone's duplicating their account. And so,
Definitely.
it's not
Just happened to me 2 weeks ago.
Yes, and if just somebody on Facebook that we probably both know sent out and said they thought that they got hacked, but really it's being cloned. But you're right. Your data is currency, and that it's currency in the world, whether it's in the regular web or the dark web. And the dark web is a scary place, and I don't even want to go there on the show,
Yes,
but
absolutely.
it is. But you just have to do your best protection, and there are tools if you're really, really concerned. People can buy something like LifeLock, to help them. But if anybody wants to know anything about anyone today, they already do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. And then the use of it, again, a reason that I like the Apple products, I don't know, I'm one of those teachers who likes to go to in-services, so if I get a new device, then I'm going to go in. Sometimes you can do it online, but I prefer to go in to the Apple store, take a class in it, and it's, this is awesome. I didn't know that. There are some great things online. You can learn everything on YouTube. So I think that's really great. And I find it interesting, and it helps me to connect, although you have to figure out balance on that, because it could be your full-time job, is just connecting with everyone. And it can be very stressful. I worked with teenagers, still do, and adults, and you sometimes just have to close that account and not go there anymore if, for whatever reason, somebody is after you and against you. So I think it's that gift, and that curse. And I think the better we understand the devices that we use so that we can use them most effectively is the way to go. But it's impossible. When I meet friends who are not technology literate, or I think more a fear of it, that they're going to break something or blow something up, you're taking yourself out of the world. You are taking yourself out of the world. And on the other hand, you have to pay attention to what you're looking. Is that really the world, or is that something that's being invented or exaggerated for clicks?
Right, and for the clicks,
currency.
the currency. When you were mentioning that about the fear, I have a good friend, and I've worked with them they just retired from the university, and they were involved with technology, cybersecurity, and she said when she retires, she's going back to the flip phone because she wants to disconnect from anything. And she never got involved with social media at all. But I had to give up Twitter because it was making me insane. So I had to just stop and back away from Twitter. Facebook, not as much, because I like the social aspect of following my friends, and now I follow a lot of travel groups. I tended to go more into like the travel side of things on Facebook. So, and then there are friends like my friends from high school who I would no way ever know about if I didn't have them on Facebook.
No, that's true.
And so that's where I find that Facebook has the value. If you can stay away from the things that cause your blood pressure to rise, no matter what side of the political fence you're on, but those are the things that are sent out there to incite you. I do often, I think people also don't realize on Facebook that when you get these ads, that there are 3 little dots off to the right-hand side, and if you click those 3 little dots, you can hide the ad. And then they'll ask you why. Is it spam? Is it irrelevant? Is it repetitive? And then you can even hide the person who put the ad on. And I have found that I started doing that about 4 or 5 months ago, and it has lessened my ads substantially.
That's good to know.
Yes.
I do know those 3 dots, but I hadn't
Maybe
thought
we'll
of it
get-
as a filter. I keep saying block this, and
Right.
that doesn't seem to work as.
No, and the cookies pop up. Cheryl and I did a show about cookies months ago, and I think we maybe during the summer we'll rerun
Good.
it. But these cookie pop-ups, you're going to get them all the time on our technology now because California has some very stringent laws about
Yes.
this. So you have to say accept, reject. Now you
Right.
can actually do it. If you say reject, it really isn't going to change your experience that much.
No, I don't find that either, and I do it all the time. Or please don't sell my
Yeah,
data.
please don't sell my data. And fingers crossed that they're not, because you just really don't know if they are or not.
And it's their money maker. I will tell you, as you were speaking about your friend who was going back to the flip phone and just I'm going off the grid.
Right.
And I work with people who are trying to manage time, et cetera. I don't find technology to be as effective, and it's probably the way our brains developed. A lot of people are going back to the paper and pencil. You're able to see what's written down all in one place. So I still do use a planner, although I'll put something in the calendar for a double check. But if I'm going to plan and try to get things done, I have switched from trying to use that with the little dots to paper pencil again.
Right, and as we draw to a close, you mentioned something that I was going to ask about, and you talked about getting training. And I find that that's one of the things that with the over 50, the lack of training or the way that the technology wasn't designed for us. It was
Correct.
designed for a younger group. So the Genius Bar at the Apple Store, if you're an Apple user, that is wonderful. And even down the hall here, our Mac Club.
Yes. Yes.
Gene is very good. But yes, there's no lack of training, but you might have to take a little effort to find it. But it's out there, and everybody, when you're comfortable, just like driving a car, you had to go learn how to drive a car.
That's right.
Just like that.
Or your new car, like what are all the gadgets and gadgets, and how do you make it
Yes.
work? That's a really good point. I
Yeah.
think that's true, and I do think there is support. Your show and the Mac Club, PC Club are people who are understanding where we're coming from and what our experience was, and then helping us to utilize. It's an essential tool. It just is an essential tool. There's no other way to go about it, and then there's the whole thing of Amazon. So
Right. Well, gosh, I could have done a whole episode with you. So, but thank you so much for coming today.
you
I
for asking me.
appreciate it, and sharing your technology story with us.
it was my pleasure again. It's something that I'm interested in for necessity, but also for pleasure. And thank you for how you bring interesting, insightful, and really essential information to people in this digital world where, again, that's the divide.
It
If you have access to the internet or don't.
Right. What a great show we had. We've come to the end of this episode, and thanks again to all the guests. It is so fun to hear from our community members. And remember, training is available on a regular basis through the PC Club, the Mac Club, the Video Club, and even the Camera Club. Sign up for their newsletters to get info on their courses each month. The PC Club is also offering monthly classes now on using the tech tools for Laguna Woods Village, such as Dwelling Live, and they have a variety of classes on all topics delivered in Korean. Remember, think before you click and be kind when posting online. And have a great month, and thank you for joining.